Hi guys, it's me again, Thalia Knights, and well, this is new. It's actually the third video in a relatively short period of time after months of break that I have took from YouTube. So I'm actually really happy to be here and kind of proud of myself that I have been able to do this. You all obviously are looking at my dress right now. It's actually one of my very first dresses I ever bought, and arguably first, the pin-up dress. I have always had kind of a soft spot for polka dots, and this just looks so lovely. To be honest, it was really small for me when I first bought it, but luckily with a little help of my friends I have now get it fixed, because now I had stretch on here so it fits perfectly. And I have also, like, I really can't wear halter neck dresses because well, these things, they are not real and I need to wear bra to support them. So what I did was I turned the halter neck into cross neck. So now it fits perfectly, and it's one of my favorite dresses and extremely comfortable. So yay! Today's video is something that I have been wanting to make for a while, and actually from the very start when I started this channel, the reason for it was partly because I wanted to spread the information about cross-dressing and what it means to be a cross-dresser. But now I would like to make one video to disprove 3 biggest misconceptions about cross-dressing, and like conveniently in one video, so let's get on with it. So the number one misconception about cross-dressers, and what I have chosen to be number one solely because it's so common but yet so untrue, that is that cross-dressers are homosexuals. And that's simply not the case. Absolute majority of cross-dressers are heterosexual men who are in relationship with women. There are no disproportionate representation of homosexuals in cross-dressers community. And I have actually seen some of the studies that actually show that it is more common for cross-dressing men to be heterosexual than non-cross-dressing men. So it's actually less common for cross-dresser to be gay than non-cross-dresser. So why is that people still think that cross-dressers are interested about men? Well, I can think of few reasons, and one of them is that people automatically assume that the reason for cross-dressers to dress up as women is to lure men, that we want to get attention from men. I'm sorry guys out there, but women do not dress for you either. Women dress beautifully for their own sake, to feel beautiful, to feel comfortable. They are not doing it for you guys. It's about feeling feminine. People, of course, cross-dress for different reasons, but considering this subject, one of the best reasons I have heard is from the movie Ed Wood, where Johnny Depp plays a transvestite movie director, Edgar G. Wood Jr., who is asked in one scene that, "Are you a fruit?" meaning that are you gay? And he says that, "No, I love women. Dressing up in their clothing makes me feel closer to them." And that is exactly how I feel. And I'm pretty sure that many cross-dressers are feeling that way too. It's not about trying to confuse men. It's not about trying to lure them. We don't do this for you guys. We do this for us. So talking about the reasons for people to cross-dress, number 2 is actually a little bit more tricky, but I think a myth nonetheless. That being that cross-dressing is merely a fetish. While I can't, of course, talk about every single cross-dressers out there, and I know for a fact that there are plenty of men who consider cross-dressing as a sexual fetish for them. they do actually get their rocks off from dressing up in women's clothes. But what I can say is that that is not the case for everyone, and you shouldn't make assumption that that is the case. Of course, there's nothing wrong with having a fetish. Like, I have a few. People are different and people are interested about different things, and as long as you are not hurting anyone or yourself, it's completely fine and it's completely your own business. Yet, we still kinda as a society consider fetishes as something that you should keep on your own, or at least on your own community. Like, picture a woman walking down the street with the dog collar on and like full on BDSM fetish clothing. I would feel a little bit anxious about it. It would be distracting because as a bystander, I'm not being consensual for his exhibitionism, if you know what I mean. So, like, that is kind of the reason. Like, if you have a fetish, you have to still consider other people's feelings. But that is why I think it's kind of important for people to realize that cross-dressing is not only a sexual thing. I consider cross-dressing as a form of self-expression. It's my way of expressing my feminine side. It's my hobby. It's kind of an art form for me, for like performance type of thing. It's my way of relaxing. I would even go as far as making some sort of distinction for fetish type of cross-dressing and the kind of actual cross-dressing. There is this thing called sissification, which is kind of a form of BDSM, which basically means that people enjoy getting humiliated by being forced to cross-dress. That's a fetish, and people who do that usually do that with very special type of clothing, like dressing up like a little girl, for example. And for some, it's actually important that you can actually see that he is not actually a woman. And then there's those who merely enjoy women's underwear and consider them as a fetish for them. And like, that is the other group, the fetish group. And then there's these like real cross-dressers who want kind of it all. Like, they want underwear, they want breast forms, they want to look like women, they want wigs, and they want they wish to be passed as a woman. Like, this is obviously a generalization, but you kind of know what I mean. Not every cross-dresser do it for the sexual kicks. And lastly, this is one of the newer ones, to be sure, and it's only been around for a while, and I kind of know why it is, and it's because of the media and the current discourse we are having. And because of them, people more often than not believe that cross-dressers are in fact transgender. It's not the case. There are plenty of people who don't even know the difference. Like, what's the difference between transvestite, a cross-dresser, and a transgender? This misconception is bad for everybody. It's bad for both cross-dressers and transgender people. Like, we don't wish to be confused for one another. So what is the difference? Now, the difference is that a transvestite or a cross-dresser is mostly a man who enjoys dressing up in the clothes of the opposite sex. The word comes from the Latin transvestite. Vestite meaning the practice of wearing clothes, and trans meaning crossing something. Hence cross-dresser. Transgender people are people who feel that they are born in a wrong body. And because of that, they feel something called gender dysphoria. It is caused by their brain being convinced that they are opposite sex that their physical body and feeling anxious for receiving the hormones that they don't feel that they should have. It's a real medical condition which is actually super rare but still yet exists. And what these people have to do to get rid of this anxiety is to change their physical sex to match their brain. And the practice of that is called transitioning, hence transgender. So why people do mistake these things together? Well, I would only assume that it is due to representation. If you are now asking for someone that who do you think, for example, like if you have no context at all, who do you think I am? I would assume that most of people would think that I am a transgender, that I am a born male who is transitioning to be a woman. And that's something that has changed because just a few years ago, or maybe a decade ago, it would be overwhelming majority of people who would automatically know that I am in fact a transvestite or crossdresser, because it is more likely that if you see a guy wearing women's clothes that he is in fact a crossdresser than it is for him to be a transgender, because unlike you might think for following the media today, transgenders are actually really outnumbered by the crossdressers. And this is something that you would never know for just following the media. There are 100 times more crossdressers out there in the world today than there are transgender people. It's 100 to 1. It really creates this false perspective to things. And I kind of know why it is, because cross-dressing is still considered as a very private thing. And like I said already, most of the cross-dressers are heterosexual men living in a relationship with women. So they are not too keen for telling their stories to the media. But also, the way the media works is that when you have a whole story in the phenomena itself, it's always better than something more nuanced and it's more boring and mundane to be a crossdresser than to be transgender, because being transgender for a media's perspective is drama. Like there's everything in that story. There's the problem that you have to solve. There's the act of solving that problem, and there's consequences. It has beginning, middle, and the end. It's the whole story in one phenomena itself. And it's fascinating for media to tell, because that is the way the media works nowadays. And don't get me wrong, I am not arguing that we should talk less about transgenders, but like what I would like to see happen is to us getting represented in media again. Like I would like to see a story of my life being told in a movie form, for example, or a cross-dressing character in a television series who doesn't do it for a comedy or anything like that. Like a real legit cross-dressing characters in television and movies, for example. Stories about cross-dressers in newspapers, in the media. That would be like, representation is important, and maybe if people see us more, they wouldn't have these misconceptions so often. It wouldn't be so huge step for those heterosexual men living in a relationship to come out as a cross-dressers to tell their story. And well, I would like that. It would be nice to live in the world where where it would be okay. So yeah, it was Thalia Nights once again. If you like this video, hit the like button there, and if you like to see more content like this, subscribe the channel. And if you really like how I look or dress, you can take a look at my Instagram page where I put new photos every week, at least 3 in the week. It's my current pace. But that was it for the day, and I will see you next time. So stay beautiful and stay strong.